What's up, guys? My name's D'Andre Brown, and welcome to another episode of the Movie Man Popcorn Review. Today will be part 2 of our Brothers series, and we will be talking about Thor and Loki. As you guys remember, last week we talked about Obi-Wan and Anakin. And at the end of this, we will be comparing how those characters can be alike and how they're sort of different. So, without further ado, let's get poppin'.
I have been falling for 30 minutes.
So, brothers and Asgardian princes Thor and Loki grew up together with their parents Odin and Frigga. They are likely to support each other as they are to tear each other down. But when a moment truly matters, the brothers often find a way to unite, especially over matters involving the protection of their home, Asgard. Even with their extreme differences, neither Thor nor Loki could accomplish their goals and growth without each other. So that's just a little background information of how their relationship is kind of back and forth. One time they're all goody goody, next time they're all batty batty.
No, I'm no goody goody. I'm a baddie baddie.
So you just never know. So let's get started with the first Thor movie. So in the first Thor movie, Loki's actions are motivated by a combination of factors, including a desire to prove himself, a sense of envy toward his brother Thor, and the belief that Thor is not suited to rule as king. He initially plots to overthrow Thor and become king, but his plan goes off the rails when he learns he is a frost giant, not an Asgardian. This revelation leads to an identity crisis for Loki, who then tries to prove his worth for his father, Odin, even more, and he tries to do that by attempting to eliminate the frost giants. But when Odin doesn't approve of this, Loki ultimately chooses to fall into the abyss. So major falling points of Loki, we can say, are envy and jealousy of his brother. But let's just go a bit deeper, shall we, guys? So, at some point, Loki finds out that he's a frost giant. So, during a trip to Jotunheim, Loki gets in contact with a frost giant, and this causes him to revert to his natural appearance. And this also happens when he picks up the casket of ancient winters, which is a powerful Jotunheim artifact. But that also causes Loki's skin to turn blue. So Loki then ultimately confronts his father, or adopted father, Odin, who revealed that Loki was indeed a frost giant, abandoned on the battlefield after the war between Asgard and Jotunheim. And Odin had found Loki and raised him as his own son, using magic to disguise his true nature. And Odin did this so he could bring the people of Asgard and the people of Jotunheim together. But then Loki had the nerve to say, but that plan doesn't matter anymore. And then that's kind of when Loki kind of loses it and starts yelling at Odin.
Am I cursed? No. What am I? You're my son. What more than that? The casket wasn't the only thing you took from Jotunheim that day, was it? No. In the aftermath of the battle, I went into the temple and I found a baby. Small for a giant's offspring, and
abandoned, suffering, left to die. Laufey's son.
Laufey's son?
Yes.
Why? You were knee-deep in Jotun blood. Why would you take me?
You were an innocent child.
No. You took me for a purpose. What was it? Tell me!
I thought we could unite our kingdoms one day, bring about an alliance, bring about permanent peace through you. But those plans no longer matter.
So I'm no more than another stolen relic, locked up here until you might have use of me.
Why do you twist my words?
You could have told me what I was from the beginning. Why didn't you?
You're my son. I wanted only to protect you from the truth.
What, because I'm the monster parents tell their children about at night?
No.
You know, it all makes sense now why you favored Thor all these years. Because no matter how much you claim to love me, you could never have a frost giant sitting on the throne of Asgard.
And I think it's a bit much for the old guy because he just banished his son who was about to be king, and now his other son, well, adopted son, just found out that he's been lying to him this entire time. So that makes Odin kind of fall into the Odin sleep, which technically like to replenish his strength. So the Odin sleep, that's what that helps with. And so with Odin out of the picture, Loki is king temporarily. So he tells Thor that his father has died, which isn't true. He's just in the Odin sleep. But Loki wants to ensure that Thor never comes back. So as king, he also sends the Destroyer, this powerful Asgardian kind of like robot that they have, to go take care of him. But Thor ultimately defeats him when he becomes worthy again. So that plan kind of failed. So, but meanwhile, back on Asgard, Loki makes a deal with the Frost Giants that he would open a secret pathway into Asgard, allowing Laufey and his guards to sneak into the palace and kill Odin. And with the promise that Loki would then be the acting king. Now, Laufey, for those of you who don't know, is the leader of the Frost Giants, and also, big shock here, guys, Loki's dad. I know it's kind of crazy, isn't it? It's kind of crazy. But this plan was part of Loki's attempt to gain the throne, which he believed he deserved. But what the Frost Giants did not know is that Loki planned to betray them and make it look like he saved Odin in order to gain his favor. And then when Odin awoke from the Odin sleep, he would find out about Loki's great deed and make him king, since Thor was kinda out of the picture now. But that didn't happen, due to Thor eventually becoming worthy again, as I said, and returning to claim his rightful spot on the throne. But he returns to find Loki trying to destroy Jotunheim, to prove to Odin that he is a worthy son. Using the power of the Bifrost, a gateway to the nine realms, including Earth, using the Bifrost to destroy the entire realm. But he gets stopped by Thor, who destroys the Bifrost, since it's the only way to stop Loki. And it's also the only way back to Earth, which, you guys wonder why I say that. Well, Thor kind of made some pretty good friends on Earth, so yeah. And he also kind of met the love of his life, if we do say so ourselves. So, yeah. But Thor had to do that for the greater good, because that's what heroes do. Oh, yeah. And then with the Bifrost destroyed, Thor and Loki begin to fall into the abyss of space. Until, out of the blue, here comes Odin just showing up out of nowhere. Better late than never. Am I right, guys? So Odin shows up and grabs hold of Thor's hand before he and Loki float into the deep void of space. But Loki ends up letting go, because even after all his attempts to gain his father's approval, well, adopted father, Odin still ends up rejecting him and sounds very disappointed in that very moment. So Loki just lets go.
I could have done it, Father! I could have done it! For you! For all of us!
No, Loki.
And we all think that he is dead, but that's not the case, because he shows up again, more alive than ever, in The Avengers. Thor doesn't become king, so it's still Odin's time to shine for a while, guys. Odin remains king for a while, so you're gonna have to wait until Thor finally gets to take his place. Anyway, you guys may wonder, how in blazes did Loki end up on Earth in the first place? Well, he ends up drifting off to where Thanos and his assistant, the other, live. And so then he strikes a deal with them. And the deal is that if Loki gets the Tesseract and gives it to Thanos, then Thanos will give him his Chitauri army, the scepter, and rule over Earth, which Loki agrees to because he's kind of ready to be king. But all this chaos leads to Thor and Odin finding out about Loki coming to Earth. But how would they get to Earth if the Bifrost was destroyed? Well, thanks to Odin, he uses some of his power to send down Thor to defeat Loki.
Where is the Tesseract?
I missed you too.
Do I look to be in a gaming mood?
Oh, you should thank me. With the Bifrost gone, how much dark energy did the Your Father have to muster to conjure you here? Your precious Earth.
Thought you dead. Did you mourn? We all did. Our father.
Your father. He did tell you my true parentage, did he not?
We were raised together. We played together. We fought together. Do you remember none of that?
I remember a shadow. Living in the shade of your greatness. I remember you tossing me into an abyss. I who was and should be king.
So you take the world I love as recompense for your imagined slights? No. The Earth is under my protection, Loki.
And you're doing a marvelous job with that. The humans slaughter each other in droves while you idly fret. I need to rule them. Why should I
You
not?
think yourself above them.
Oh, yes.
Then you miss the truth of ruling, brother. The throne would suit you ill.
I've seen worlds you've never known about. I have grown, Odin's son, in my exile. I have seen the true power of the Tesseract, and when I wield
Who
it,
showed you this power? Who controls the would-be king?
I am a king!
Look here! You give up the Tesseract! You give up this poisonous dream! You come home.
And Thor ends up joining one of the most epic teams in the world, the Avengers. Oh yeah. And so in the end, Loki is defeated and Thor takes Loki back to Asgard. Because even with the Bifrost destroyed, guys, they had a Tesseract which can teleport people or things to different places in space. So that's kind of helpful, you know? And so Loki faces the punishment of his actions as he is placed in a cell back on Asgard. But not for long. Because then in Thor the Dark World, we have some new drama happening, guys. So Loki is eventually freed by Thor to assist Thor in getting vengeance against the Dark Elves who killed their mother. Well, Thor's mother. But Loki considers her his mother as well. But we can't really say the same that he has the same attachment to Odin.
after all this time,
Now you come to visit me. Why? Have you come to gloat? To mock?
Loki, enough. No more illusions.
Now you see me, brother. Did she suffer?
I did not come here to share our grief. Instead, I offer you the chance of a far richer sacrament.
Go on.
I know you seek vengeance as much as I do. You helped me escape Asgard, and I will grant it to you. Vengeance. And afterward, this cell.
You must be truly desperate to come to me for help. What makes you think you can trust me?
I don't. Mother did. And you should know that when we fought each other in the past, I did so with the glimmer of hope that my brother was still in there somewhere. That hope no longer exists to protect you. You betray me, and I will kill you.
When do we start?
But some things also happen in Thor the Dark World. Everything's going well. The brothers, they feel like they're actually getting along and they have that connection. Even though Thor doesn't trust Loki all the way, they still end up fighting side by side against the Dark Elves. But Loki plays another trick on Thor, which Thor ultimately falls for again. So Loki fakes his death by making it look like he had been stabbed in the chest with a cursed spear, while the enemy believed that he had injured him. But Loki secretly managed to attach a grenade to the enemy during the confrontation. So even in what seemed like his defeat, he created the illusion of having sacrificed himself, making him appear to be a hero. In the end, Loki dies in Thor's arms.
I fool, you didn't listen.
I'm a fool. I'm a fool.
Stay with me, okay?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's all right. I'll tell Father what you did here today.
I didn't do it for him.
At least that's what we're led to believe. Because then after Thor and Jane exit the picture, Loki secretly returns to Asgard and removes Odin from the throne, becoming king for a period of time. You may ask, how does he remove Odin from the throne? Well, Loki is the god of mischief, and he has magical powers, so he just uses his power of manipulation and all the powers that he learned from his mother, and that's how he did it. So, for all those out there who are asking. And so then Loki becomes king for a period of time. And by seemingly making himself look like a hero who died in battle, Loki was also able to avoid Thanos' wrath because he kind of failed him in getting the Tesseract. So, and we don't know how he was going to get away from that. But if he faked his death, then Thanos would never know now, would he? Exactly. So, and also most likely to prevent Odin from punishing him for his past actions. Because, let's see, if Loki hadn't died, he probably still would have ended up in that cell at the end of the movie. So, but let's just talk about the real reason why Loki probably wanted to. He wanted to be seen as a hero by Thor, as he had finally done something good for Asgard. Because all this time, Thor's just seen Loki as the god of mischief, but Loki probably wanted to be more than that, guys. He was just never given a chance, okay?
We were never given a chance to be anything more than criminals. But these are the cards we've been dealt, so we might as well play them.
Because Thor was looked upon as the favorite, so at least that's how Loki saw it in his eyes, so then Odin kinda like just the only reason that he took him from Jotunheim, his rightful birthplace, was because he wanted to bring together the two nations. But then, at some point, Odin, he just stopped believing in that dream. So then Loki kind of just became useless and he's just wondering what his purpose was. So, Odin, thanks for nothing. So, let's continue with the story, because that's not the last we see of Loki. Oh no, we still see some more of him. In Thor Ragnarok, we see him posing as Odin, but Thor sees through his illusion. As the real Odin wouldn't be lounging around eating grapes when the nine realms are in chaos with each other. And Odin is initially the protector of the nine realms. So he wouldn't just be letting chaos and calamity ensue. So Loki and Thor have to go on another wild adventure as they look for Odin, because the place where Loki initially left Odin is no more.
I swear I left him right here. Right here on the sidewalk or right there where the building's being demolished? Great planning.
What was I supposed to know? Can't see into the future, I'm not a witch.
No? Then why'd you dress like one?
Hey, I can't believe you're alive. I saw you die. I mourned you, I cried for you.
I'm honored.
So with the help of Doctor Strange, they find Odin in the middle of Norway, getting ready to die, as he tells the boys that their sister is coming to destroy the Nine Realms. Which, big shocker, because Thor thought he was the firstborn. So this is kind of some karma right now, Thor, because for once, you know what Loki feels like, because Loki was lied to, saying that he was actually Asgard.
Hurts, doesn't it? Being lied to. Being told you one thing and learning it's all a fiction.
So, anywho, in their first encounter with Hela, they totally get demolished. And then they retreat, but on their way back to Asgard through the Bifrost, which got rebuilt by the way, Hela follows them and kinda just knocks them out of the Bifrost, and they both land in a place called Sakaar. But not together, separately. And they end up meeting up with each other later. But Loki kind of pretends he has no idea who Thor is. And that's kind of how the movie goes for a while. But then eventually, Thor gets back up on his feet after a lot of stuff happens. And then Thor, he gets a new team to help him escape Sakaar. And he returns to Asgard. And Loki, he agrees to help Thor because he also wants to get off Sakaar. So that's why Loki helps him.
Have to look top of the line models.
I don't mean to impose. But the Grand Master has a great many ships. I may even have stolen the access codes to his security system.
And suddenly you're overcome with an urge to do the right thing.
Heavens no. I run out of favor with the Grand Master, and in exchange for codes and access to a ship, I'm asking for safe passage through the anus.
You're telling us that you can get us access into the garage without setting off any alarms?
Yes, brother, I can.
And they also end up having this emotional moment together, which we as the audience can all see is just very impactful to the story. Because if we look back, Thor and Loki, they haven't always seen eye to eye on a lot of things, so it's good that they actually have a chance to talk. But this will also sadly be one of the last talks that they ever have with each other. More on that later, though.
Do you truly think so little of me?
Okay, I thought the world of you. I thought we were going to fight side by side forever, but at the end of the day, you're you and I'm me. I know maybe that's still good in you, but let's be honest, that path's diverged a long time ago.
Yeah. It's probably for the best that we never see each other again.
That's what you always wanted.
So, the emotional moment, though, sadly doesn't last long because Loki ends up trying to betray Thor once more to turn him into the Grand Master. To win the award, the person gets who turns in Thor. And the Grand Master, he's the ruler of Sakaar. And Thor, he kind of becomes, we don't want to say a criminal, but he kind of becomes a runaway. And he also does something else, but I'm not going to spoil it for you guys. Just go watch the movie, Anyway, but this time, Thor, he outsmarts Loki because he knows Loki's tricks, so he probably knew that Loki was going to betray him. So in case of that, he placed an electronic device on Loki, and he just leaves him there, getting electrocuted.
Well, I feel it won't make much of a difference.
Loki.
I know I've betrayed you many times before, but this time it's truly nothing personal. The reward for your capture will set me up nicely.
Never one for sentiment, were you?
Easier to let it burn.
I agree. Oh, that looks painful. Oh dear, brother, becoming predictable. I trust you. You betray me round and round in circles we go. See, Loki, life is it's about growth, it's about change, but you seem to just want to stay the same. I guess what I'm trying to say is that you'll always be the god of mischief, but you could be more. Just put this over here for you. Anyway, all got places to be, so good luck, I guess.
But that's not the end, my friends. Oh, no. That's not the end of the God of Mischief. As he returns later in the film to help save Asgard, probably to redeem himself, but also, just maybe because Loki knew it was the right thing to do. And it was kind of his fault that Odin had died, so he might have felt a little responsible. In the end, though, they end up defeating Hela, but at what cost, you may ask? Well, Asgard initially gets destroyed, but as Odin said,
It's too late, she's already taken Asgard.
Asgard is not a place. Never was. This could be Asgard. Asgard is where our people stand.
wise words from a wise man. Okay, so, other people, including Loki,
Maybe you're not so bad after all, brother.
Maybe not.
Thank you. If you were here, I might even give you a hug.
I'm here.
fly around in a spacecraft in search of a new home. Everything is going well until Thanos happens and kinda kills like almost everyone on the ship, but a few people manage to survive. But the only reason he attacks the ship is because he wants the Tesseract. But it was left on Asgard, so it was destroyed, right? Nope. Loki apparently felt the need to take it with him, so he did. And Thor ends up saying,
You really are the worst, brother.
which I really think kinda a little harsh there, Thor, after everything you and Loki have just been through together. I mean, I don't think Thor really meant that. I don't think Thor really meant that, Sometimes people don't really mean what they say, but when they're mad, people say a lot of things, so we just never know sometimes. Anywho, Loki actually meets his demise with Thanos when he tries to double cross him with a dagger, but Thanos does not fall for that because he sees that Loki is trying to stab him with a dagger and he ends up choking him to death. Thor left to watch, which is one of the most saddest deaths we've ever seen in a Marvel movie because, well, most of us all think that Loki is just faking it, right? But this is the last time we actually see Loki is at the beginning of Avengers Infinity Wars. Because we don't see him in Endgame. We don't see him in Thor Love and Thunder. So, we don't know what happened to Loki. Is he still out there? Was that death fake, or was it actually the real thing? It's not actually confirmed that Loki's actually dead. And no, we're not going to get into the Loki series, where Loki ends up on a different timeline. Different story, guys. Different story. So Thor just ends up mourning over Loki after Thanos leaves the ship just in ruins. Like, at least you could have just gave us something, Thanos, a little horse there, am I right? And so that's kind of the end of Thor and Loki's story together. I mean, Thor still plays a part in the world, but Loki is gone. And no one knows if that death was faked or not, or if it was the real thing. But before we go, there's a few things we can learn from the story of Thor and Loki, like something that we've always said in these episodes, the wise words from Charles Xavier. Just because somebody stumbles and loses their way doesn't mean they're lost forever. Loki at the beginning, guys, I think he had a lot of development because at the beginning, he was just a guy who was jealous of his brother Thor because he felt like he deserved the throne. And he was also a bit mad at Odin because Odin had lied straight up to his face. So he had to learn to deal with that because not everything is as it seems. And Loki, it's because of envy and jealousy that he wanted the throne too. So, and we all can think of another guy who wanted the throne. Well, not the throne, but somebody who also wanted power. Anakin Skywalker. Feels like Anakin and Loki have some things in common. Because they both wanted the power. But there's one difference. Anakin felt like his mentor Obi-Wan was holding him back. But in this story, Loki doesn't have a mentor or anything. Loki is kind of, I wouldn't say the underdog, but Loki's kind of the one left behind. No one really in Asgard, you can kind of see no one's a big fan of Loki. The only one who actually really cares about him is his mother, Frigga. And she's like the only one who even comes to visit Loki when he's in prison in the second movie. But then after she dies, then that's kind of Loki falls into kind of a state of depression as when we see him in Thor, the Dark World. Because Frigga was the only person who actually believed in Loki and actually cared about him. Odin could care less what happened to him. The only reason that he was actually alive was because Frigga insisted on it. So, and who's Odin to argue with his wife? Am I right, guys? We can also learn more about Thor because Thor didn't trust his brother, but he still allowed Loki to end up and help him. Okay? Trust is something that you give people, okay? Because you want them to initially do the right thing, okay? Noah didn't trust Loki, but he still let him out of that prison to help him. He didn't know if Loki was going to betray him or what. But Thor had that trust in his brother because he knew that deep down Loki could still change. Like, Loki could still change. All he probably needed was that push, because nobody had really believed in Loki. So, but then, of course, as soon as things seem to be going well with the brothers, then Thanos hits, and then it's the whole thing. Thor lost a lot of people in his family. But I think that one of the most hurtful ones was his brother Loki. Because even though Loki had died over and over and over again, and had tricked Thor multiple times, Thor still loved his brother. And we can compare that to another famous person, Jesus. Because Jesus, even though that we mess up countless of times, he still gives us second chances. So, and also in the Star Wars movies, even though Anakin had turned to the dark side, Obi-Wan didn't really give up on him because they encountered each other like 2 or 3 more times. So, but of course, there's a difference between Anakin and Loki. Anakin had fallen very deep into the dark side. Okay? At the point where he could even kill Obi-Wan. That he didn't care about his friend anymore. But Loki, I don't think he went that far, because Anakin, he just kept going farther and farther and farther into that pit. Until then, eventually, he turns back to good because he sees the Sith trying to kill his son. For Pete's sake, Sith. Don't go after someone's son. You know how fathers are these days. Loki, I mean, he just, at the beginning, he starts off as a really bad guy. But at the end, we start to relate to Loki a bit more. His story is incomplete. So, but his story, if you guys really want to really get into Loki, then you guys need to watch the Loki series on Disney Plus. It actually is good, guys. Alright, I watched it, and I think that you can understand the character of Loki a lot more if you guys watch it too. So let's just go over what we learned real quick. So, people can change. Even if they done a million bad things, people can still change in the end. We also learned that that Thor put his trust in someone, even though he betrayed him multiple times, just like Jesus gives us second chances. Thor gave Loki a lot of second chances. And we also learned that jealousy and envy are two very powerful things, because Loki, all he ever wanted to do was be Thor's equal.
I never wanted the throne. I only ever wanted to be your equal. I will not fight you, brother! I'm not your brother. I never was. Loki, this is madness. Is it madness? Is it? Is it?
But he was never treated fairly, and that's kind of when that jealousy and envy came in, because he wanted to be like Thor. And it kind of reminds you of Lucifer, okay? But he wanted to be in charge, just like Lucifer. He wanted to be the next heir on the throne. So you guys gotta be careful with that jealousy and envy and wanting to be like someone else. I think Loki also turned because he thought that he wasn't good enough. So, because Odin he was only there to bring peace between the two nations. So he was no more than just a tool to Odin, not even a son. So Odin kind of has a lot to learn about becoming a good father, but he kind of died. So I guess your time kind of went out at Odin. Then at the end, like when he was about to die, he has the nerve to say, "My sons." Come on now. After he done treated Loki so unfairly, sometimes people feel like they don't fit in. And I think Loki was one of those people. I don't think Loki felt like that he had fit in. And so maybe he thought with this throne he would finally get the recognition that he deserved. I mean, but with Lucifer, he kind of already had got recognition. But like, what did Loki have? I mean, Loki didn't really have much. I mean, everybody knew him on Asgard, but it's not like he had a buddy that he hung out with. But the connection between him and Thor was something inseparable. So I want to leave y'all with this. That like, if y'all have a sibling or anything, and your sibling sometimes to do a lot of things to get on your nerves, well, I want y'all to remember the story of Loki and Thor. And that no matter how many times Loki made a mistake, Thor still had faith in him, and he still trusted him over and over and over again. Just like Jesus gives us chances over and over and over again, and he still loves us no matter how many times we mess up. That's how it was for Loki. They can come together when it truly matters. Okay, when the end of the world is happening, those two will come together. Okay, so it doesn't matter how many times you and your brother or your sister get into a fight. You know deep down somewhere that they're still your family. And in the end, family always works out for each other. So, that's all we gotta say, guys. Next week, we will be talking about Magneto and Charles Xavier, which is an exciting one, because y'all heard me say Charles Xavier's quote through these past 2 episodes. Just because somebody stumbles and loses their way doesn't mean they're lost forever. So, you guys will get more depth on that. But, until next time, see ya. Until the next pod.